Hi, I'm Pramod Kumar and I'm going to teach you the mechanic vibration. Basically, this is the continuation of the previous lecture in which we have learned the single degree of freedom vibration. In that single degree of vibration, we have learned the syllabus, and the objective of this syllabus is single degree vibration and the force vibration. In that, we'll just solve some few equations, and that equation will be the steady state response due to the harmonic oscillation, and the different other components of the force vibrations will be discussed in this lecture. So the force vibration, as you can see that this basically when the body vibrates under the influence of external force, then the body is said to be under the forced vibration. Some examples are ringing of electrical bell, vibration of air compressor, etc. In electric bell, you can see that means electrical energy is given and it is basically and forced to vibrate, and that means external force is applied. That external force is electromagnetic force is applied on that bell, and then the vibrations occurs, and because of that vibrations the ringing sound comes out. So in the same way, the vibration of air compressor is again the forced vibration is example of forced vibrations, where the electrical energy is basically given to them, and because of that electrical energy, because of that external energy, the compressor basically vibrates. So the types of external excitations there are so many types of external excitations, but three types of external forces we consider it here. Some are the periodic forces and impulsive types of forces and the random forces. But in this chapter, we will confine our lecture on the periodic forces. That is, periodic forces will be the simple harmonic forces, simple harmonic forces. So we will study about that force vibration. So based on that ones, we just give you some examples and some diagrammatic schematic representation of the external forces. That means external forces model the behavior of a system which has a time varying force acting on it. Here is you can see that means this is the spring mass damper systems where the external force is F0 sin omega t. That means this force is basically oscillating one, and it is time varying. It is not a constant force. So an example of offshore structure subjected to a wave of loading is the example of external forces having the time varying forces acting on it. So this is the example of external forces model behavior of a system. So base excitation model is basically this is the base excitation model of a vibration isolation system. So the base of a spring is given a prescribed motion and causing the mass to vibrate. This system can be used to model a vehicle suspension system or the earthquake response of a structure. Basically, this object, when here you can just give a small displacement to the spring, it starts vibrating. However, the damper basically dampens the vibration and the vibration is basically isolated, and vibration is basically damped. So this is the base excitation. So example of that is vibration isolation table. We'll understand what is a vibration isolation table or vibration isolation system. Vibration isolation system is basically the vibration is given to that system, and that system basically isolate the vibration and dampen it, and so that's why we call it vibration isolation system. Another types of force vibration is rotor excitation model. The effect of rotating machine mounted on a flexible floor, the crank with a small mass rotate at constant angular velocity, causing the mass m to vibrate. This is basically a rotor excitation model, rotating mass mounted on the floor. Now we'll come to the steady state response due to harmonic oscillation. Now this is the forced vibration and the forced vibration because of the harmonic oscillations. We'll study about it. The simple model of that system, that means a spring mass damper system, where you can see this is the mass and this is the this is the spring and this is the damper. And K is basically a spring constant, C is the damping constant, here M is the mass, and F sine omega t is basically harmonic oscillation given to that mass. That means it will oscillate, it will just the force is basically time varying forces is applied on it. So the equation of motion of this system subjected to harmonic force F sine omega t can be given by mx double dot plus kx plus cx dot equal to F sine omega t. Basically this is the, you can see it's a free body diagram. You can see that when this is the force, this will be the spring force. Spring force will act just a verb, and that will be the spring force will be kx. The damper and the damping force will be the kx dot, that means k into velocity, and the forces and the inertia forces will be m into a and m into a, and all these forces together will balancing balanced by the external force s f sine omega t. So this will be the external forces, and all the other forces and these external forces will be balanced by this system, this other forces, to make the system in the equilibrium. So the solution of the above equation will be in the form of x, small x into x sine omega t minus phi. So this is basically mathematical thing. So you can just learn about it in the mathematics, and you have learned about it in the mathematics, and based on that we'll solve the equations. Basically mathematically it can be solved, and it can be solved by the graphically also. So this is the basically force polygon graph, and you can just see it over here, and how it will be solved will be discussed in the later slide. However, this force polygon, you must remember it, and you can just think of it, and you will consider it in the later stage, and we'll come back to this slide, and you will understand that this is the reference line, and this is the reference line, and this is the kx basically this kx is basically a spring force is making an angle omega t minus phi with the reference line, and this spring force is having a magnitude of kx and sine omega, and omega t is the angle, and this is basically damping force. This damping force is basically perpendicular to the spring force, and its magnitude is c omega x, and this is the damping force, and this is basically inertia force. This inertia force is m omega x. Basically this is inertia force is acting just opposite to the spring force. So that's why this force is in the spring force is in this direction, and the inertia force in just opposite of that direction. And this force basically now it is balanced out by the external force F. This is basically F external force, which is making a omega t angle with the reference line. So now we understand this is the basically force polygon, on which you can understand if this is the reference line, this is basically a spring force, this is the damping force, this is the inertia force. Now you can just if you just find it in the force triangle, in the vector triangle, then this is basically triangle 1, which is basically which will be basically over here, and the resultant of this vector will be this one, and this force is basically balanced by the external force F. That is magnitude of F will be magnitude of that external force will be F, and angle of that force with the reference line will be omega t. So this way you can understand the force polygon, and that force polygon is basically discussed in this slide. Basically, as each term of previous equation represent a forcing term, with first and second and third term represent the inertia force, spring force, and the damping force. So what we have discussed in the previous slide, and which has been discussed in the force polygon also. This term, the term in the right hand side is the basically applied force. A spring force is basically kx, and solution based on the solution of the differential equation will be given as k capital X sine omega t minus phi. Basically, this force will make an angle omega t minus phi with the reference line represented by the OI line. So what we have discussed in the previous slide, you can go to the previous slide and can understand what are the force polygon are. So in the same way, damping force C x dot, that means C omega capital X cos omega t minus phi, this force is basically perpendicular to the spring force and represented by the AB line. And in the same way, inertia force, what we have discussed in the previous slide, is basically perpendicular to the damping force and is in opposite direction with the spring force, is represented by the line BC. So applied force F sine omega t, which is drawn at the angle omega t, basically with reference to the reference line, is represented by the OC line. So in this way, we can just find the in that triangle, you can just calculate the different parameters, like f square will be c omega x into k into x square plus this one. So in that triangle, you can just see it, and you can find that equations, and based on that you can extract, you can just, after solving this one, you can find the x, capital X will be f by under root k minus omega m omega square under root whole square plus c omega whole square. So in this way you can find, and just after dividing denominator and numerator, you can find this term. So basically this is the simplified version of and you can, in this way you can find the x, and at the same time you can find the phi also. Phi will be tan inverse c omega divided by k minus m omega square. So this is basically what we have found it from the polygon triangle. So this is the basically phi 1, and after some simplifications and giving some few terms, like means natural frequency, that means omega n will be under root k by m, and critical damping cc basically 2m omega n, and damping factor or damping ratio zeta equal to c by cc, that means critical damping, the natural damping divided by critical damping. Hence we can find this and this term, or this term basically you can understand what are these terms. These terms as a ratio f by k is the static deflection x0 of the spring, then kx, then xk divided by f equal to x by x0 is known as a magnifications ratio or amplitude ratio of the system. So these are some mathematical things, and you have to calculate it. You can understand, and you just will get to know if you can see that one in the polygon triangle. Fourth polygon. So for the undamped system, zeta equal to 0, the magnification factor tends to infinity when the frequency of external excitation equals natural frequency of the system, that means omega by omega n equal to 1. So but the underdamped system, the maximum amplitude of excitation has a definite value, and it occurs at the frequency omega by omega n less than 1. So with in this diagram you can see that that means if the omega, if it is that means that ratio is less than 1, it is less than 1, it is having some definite value, and if it is equal to 1, it's basically it tends to infinity. You can see that one, it tends to infinity, and mathematically you can also see that when it tends to infinity. Therefore, the frequency of external excitation very less than the natural frequency of the system. With increase in frequency ratio, the dynamic deflection x and dominates the static deflection x0. The magnification factor increases till it reaches a maximum value at heterogeneous frequency omega r. So with this, this can be understood with the mathematical derivations of mathematical formulations discussed previously, and in this graph also, and this graph will be discussed later also, what this graph is called. So for undamped system, the total response of the system, which is the combination of transient response and steady state response, can be given by this mathematical formula, which we already have derived it in the previous slide. And the phase, angle, and frequency ratio for the different magnifications ratio is plotted over here. And this, with this phase diagram, we'll understand how this phase diagram will be read and will be understood in the later slide. Now we understand if there is some frequencies, then that means if there is some forced vibration, there is some disturbances there. If some harmonic disturbances are there, then we'll understand how the other factors like magnification factor or dynamic magnifier and other factors basically behave. The ratio and what are those things and how it basically how they are characterized. So first we'll understand what are the harmonic disturbance. In harmonic disturbance, basically the magnification factor or dynamic magnifier is defined in this way. Basically, this is the ratio of maximum displacement of the forced vibration x max to the static vibration x0 due to the static force and is denoted by magnification factor. So you can see that means the formula of magnification factor is given over here. 1 by 1 into 1 under root 1 minus r square by whole square plus 2 epsilon r whole square. So this term basically is derived earlier, and based on that we can calculate the magnification factor. Now with this formula you can it is basically clear that magnification factor depends on the ratio of circular frequencies as well as damping factor. So now the phase diagram what we have just seen earlier, we'll just see over here also, and we'll try to understand what are those harmonic disturbance characteristics curves are. Basically, frequency response curve is basically a curve drawn between magnification factor and frequency ratios, and it's also known as frequency response curve. And this frequency response curve is basically discussed in the last video, where you can see that means if zeta equal to it tends to 0, it's basically amplitude ratio basically increases to infinity. Now the other characteristics curve, where the phase frequency response curve is basically drawn, and that curve is drawn between the phase angle and the frequency ratio, and the phase frequency response curve is drawn for the different zeta as well as the different frequency ratio. So phase angle as well and the frequency ratios curve is given in this way, and you can find here some no damping, and for the no damping zeta equal to 0, critical damping zeta equal to 1, and for the various other various zeta, here this phase frequency response is drawn, and it will be discussed in later also, and it has some practical applications which will be discussed. And you understand these are the basically curves. These are the basically curves drawn on the different zeta. So now we'll understand. We'll just try to understand what is called transmissibility. Basically, transmissibility is the measure of effectiveness of the vibration isolating material. That means if there is some vibration, that means that vibration basically transmit to some other object. So sometimes that vibration is basically useful, or sometimes it is not useful. It is very harmful. If it is useful, then it is very good for us. That means we appreciate it. But if it's not good, that means it's harmful. We try to isolate it. So transmissibility basically with the measurement of that one transmissibility, we understand how the vibration is basically transmitted from one to another one, and how what are those measures on which we can just reduce the transmissibility of vibration. So in that way we define the transmissibility. So transmissibility is a measure of effectiveness of the vibration isolating material. So vibration isolating material you must be knowing that one. Suppose if something is vibrating, if you keep isolating material like paste or like cork and all, then it will just isolate it, then there will won't be a vibration. And so there are some other vibration isolation table also, where some static and dynamic vibration is basically isolated from surface to the some other machines. So these are the basically transmissibility, and the types of transmissibility are force transmissibility and the motion transmissibility. So we'll discuss about the force transmissibility first. So force transmissibility is defined as the ratio of force transmitted Ft to the force applied on the system Fo. This ratio is also known as isolating factor, and it is generated by epsilon. So force transmissibility here you can basically in different books is denoted by different way, but it is basically ratio of the force transmitted to the force applied onto the system. Motion transmissibility is basically defined as the ratio of absolute amplitude of the mass to the base excitation amplitude y. Thus, this ratio is also known as amplitude transmissibility. It is denoted by epsilon a, and it is basically and the mathematical formulation for this is given over here, and you can calculate it in mathematically analytically also. And finally, we just give you some questions based on our today's learning. These are basically solve the differential equation of the forced vibrations. What we have the equations like m x double dot plus k c x dot plus kx equal to f sine omega t. What we have the same equations what we have mentioned in the first few slides. Basically, you have to solve that differential equations, and few terms are basically discussed in this chapter, which is called force transmissibility, motion transmissibility, and vibration isolation. So these are the questions, and these are the books which is already been shared in the previous classes also, previous lectures also. And with that, we come to the end of our this lecture. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much. Bye.